will be replaced at some point in the future. I've actually talked with the CEO of the company, and that's what he told me at the end of last year. So the KSV brand is basically a placeholder, so they will be called something else Black in the future. So let's just prepare for that and drop the KSV and call it
Oh,
Black.
really?
Maybe we should do that, maybe we shouldn't. Actually, the brand was supposed to be already replaced, but they ran into some unfortunate copyright issues with the new branding that they wanted to use, so they're sticking with KSV for now. To be honest, the KSV logo is pretty ugly, so I'm looking forward to that. Oh,
You're
but
way
they
too
play...
honest.
Yeah, but
The exact same.
they do the same thing again. I'm not too sold on this, you know, picking Genji first, letting them take Uther. I feel like this can only end in the same way, but let's see if GLuck has other ideas this time.
Oh, let's see.
I mean, the ban is Anubarak this time, so this could go in different ways. Perhaps they could pull out the Abathur even. If played correctly, Abathur is pretty good on this map, especially when paired with a Genji. The problem is that, again, Abathur Genji is super good on this map against supports that are not named Uther. So, again, running into the same familiar problem. I don't know. Do you want to take ETC in this rotation, or do you want to ban it? You could take ETC Cassia even if you're feeling pretty adventurous. But they go for the Garrosh Stukov.
Instead, they want to toss around a few things here and there, which pairs pretty well with Stukov, I would say, but with Genji, it's not the best pair. And sometimes you actually do miss healing, and sometimes the silence comes in big time, but oftentimes on this map, because you can harass easily. Of course, Black does not have too much CC yet, but once they pick up something like ETC or anything else that can harass Stukov and catch them off guard, that will be an insta-kill for them.
I mean, in general, Stukov is very strong right now, very respectable win rate across the board, and also something to mention is that Blue Beetle on GLuck, who will be playing that Stukov, has been a Stukov and Lucio lover for a very, very long time. He was playing those heroes, right? He was playing those heroes even when they were objectively considered very bad.
Even at 3 AM this morning, I saw him playing. I saw him picking Stukov 3 times in a row.
I mean, he absolutely loved those, you know, newer support heroes. They're pretty well made, they're pretty fun to play, so I can understand that. Anyway, the thing is that he does have a heavy preference for those heroes, so maybe that is factoring into this a little bit as well.
And that's also because he's good at it, and he can actually carry the team with his play. It also proves a lot, and a lot of people actually trust his Stukov lots of time. He's one of the better supports in Hero League Grandmaster right now.
And, you know, Blue Beetle is one of the supports with the widest hero pools in the entire league, I would say, simply because he plays so much and has played support exclusively in Hero League almost for such a long time. He can basically play anything and work it at a pro level. But as we were talking about, the ETC ban comes down from GLuck, and KSV answer that with a Murd and Abathur, which is pretty devastating for a GLuck, I would say. Pairs so well with everything that KSV Black has above the Abathur. And no apparent answer. I guess they could have picked Dehaka maybe, but who really plays Dehaka on this map? So it could have been a foul stat, I guess.
I'm offended.
Alright, I'm sorry, but I mean, Dehaka is definitely playable, but I don't think it's the right, you know, hero to choose.
Of course, the 2-lane map a lot smaller than the other ones, like Hurst. Of course, works a lot better. Of course, there are lots of objects that can. Sergeant Hammer, the reworked for the first time in 2018 in HGC Korea, and maybe the last time.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it will be picked again. I think that Sergeant Hammer is one of the underutilized picks in HGC Korea right now. I think she definitely has a place in the meta, but still, it's very surprising to see it pulled out right now, especially in this draft. I guess if you come to think about it, Stukov and Arthas and Garrosh are all fantastic at providing cover, that, you know, sturdy front line in front of Sergeant Hammer, give her that protection she needs. But at the same time, you know, since we don't have a lot of experience with how these Hammer compositions play out in real life, it's all just speculation at this point. And I feel that, you know, maybe it will be difficult, perhaps to protect both Stukov and Hammer at the same time, because KSV Black are going for a full dive composition, right? And how much peel can the side of GLuck provide for their backline? We will have to see.
Well, I think they just have enough with Garrosh and Arthas, but Marteo will be a gigantic problem for them when the percent damage would be just on them the entire time, just melting down the front line. I think that's exactly what KSV Black is trying to do with Marteo. Even with Avatar, it makes him so much stronger. We may actually see a different build from Avatar. Not the most popular trend, but we see lots of healing Avatar these days with the not with the Nest talent or the Q talent at all. So maybe that's something different we might see from Avatar, because I think also this Avatar is the first one to be played from Korea.
I believe so, yes. He has been banned
like 2 million
12 times in HGC Korea so far and had not been picked before this game. Happy to see Kyocha on that Avatar, though.
Back to his favorite.
Very exciting. Sake on a solo support Uther, less exciting, but it comes at the... like, everything has a trade-off, right? So, very excited about the Kyocha Avatar. If you recall, when Kyocha first really started to stomp on literally everyone in the professional scene with his Avatar and his Avatar compositions, his two favorite maps to run it on were Sky Temple and Battlefield. Oh
man,
Zeron
even from the start,
down.
Zeron.
You know,
this is not the first time.
Bad memories of game one, right? When he got picked off repeatedly again and again and again. So that was a bit lax of him there. Somewhat standard base trade going on now.
But Genji is still coming up. Seems like they want to delay this a little bit more. Sergeant Hammer is just on that siege mode, doing all the damage at the bottom.
Pretty interesting to see the decision of... oh, okay, so he's not going to fall. Interesting to see the decision of sending two members to defend against this push by GLuck. Not the most standard rotation that you would see.
Yeah, of course, they can't really defend too well. They do have some CC and pokes. See, they just get pushed out just like this as Rich is trying to pressure in. As let's see if this goes all the way to the keep gate. I think it can actually go there if GLuck does not decide to come back in time. I think Black actually wants to go in a little more.
Okay,
you want to go pressure in with Saron once more. Doing that CC, the damage is not, seems like it's not enough for the time being, but Greymane,
if the body block from the Muradin had worked a slightly better, or had the Arthas W did not landed, then that could have been a kill again on the side of KSV Black. So Zeron testing his luck, definitely right there.
Guys, if this is your first time watching Heroes of the Storm ever, usually we have members in all lanes. It is not a pushing game. Of course, it is a pushing game, destroying tower game until the core, but usually,
I mean,
usually
to be honest,
you distribute your resources up on top and the bottom.
I get pretty annoyed if you know, these lane swaps happen literally every game, but seeing it every now and then gives me some appreciation for the level 1 brawls that we see every game as well. So I like it mixed up sometimes. Of course, these longer lanes, I feel, will make the Avatar happier. You know, more swaths of safety. Of course, more swaths of not so much safety as well, but, you know, wave control is something that you can, you know, work out with your team. And in general, KSV Black should be pretty happy with this exchange of forts that has gone down.
It seems like Black has a better timing on that, on the Bruiser camp also, as Greymane is already cleaning up the ones that are coming from the top lane, and GLuck has started this one very early as they wanted to position themselves.
The Sergeant Hammer is disappointed.
Oh, rejected. It's like, I positioned wrong! This is not the one that I want to damage on. A spy.
That had to be intentional, right? Like,
I think so. Maybe they just wanted to defend it for a second, or
a split second.
A split second.
Yeah. Maybe. Teams are somewhat even in the Immortals race, but
But the percent damage is definitely working in favor for KSV Black, as Avatar is all the way out there pushing the lane a little bit quicker now.
Overlord finally finding some meaning in the hammer pick, getting a lot of shots off.
Because you
Wow,
see them
that's
big,
an
great
amazing
silence
silence.
coming from Blue Beetle. Genji tried to make an advantage with the kill, but Tist barely survives there.
Just
Reset
will
just
take a breather.
Reset just poking a little bit, but Overlord is working on that siege mode on that Immortal from the right side the entire time.
Oh, this is really smart from... It could have been really smart from Tist, but he's not doing anything now. They're going for the full race.
Not just full rate, they want that Immortal and more kills actually. Overlord not really taking in part of this team fight at all. Now joins in.
It's a complete dogfight at this point, but KSV are in the lead. Level 7 to 6. Team cleanup coming out. Aided heavily by Abathur's
I
hat,
guess
of course.
I don't think it's a good trade for GLuck at all, even though they did get Immortal for themselves.
I think it was absolutely horrendous. It's a huge loss of a trade. They're going to lose this bottom fort. Like, if Reset decides to be a bit... Yeah, if he gets 1 or 2 more shots onto the fort, he's going to take it. He does. GLuck...
And the Immortal does not even take the wall down.
Yeah, not even the outer wall. So, that was a horrible trade for GLuck.
I think even Kyocha came in and slapped on that Immortal a few times. just for the damage.
I mean, like, when your symbiote's off on cooldown for 3 seconds or so, you don't have anything to do. You can, you know... He's one of the best Avatar players in the world. He knows how to, you know, maximize your damage, get those little slaps off. That's what
and it
differentiates,
hurts their feelings.
you know, your Avatar
hurts
from
their
Coach's
feelings.
Avatar.
Yes.
Like, he gets 3 more slaps off than you.
Well, going back to game though. Well, Black really having the favorite here after winning that big team fight. After Avatar really comes in handy. He's going full nest build here as the nest are doing so much damage. Even before the team fight where GLuck tries to move up and down, they're getting a lot of the poke from the nest only. And also when they're trying to fight, the symbiote is on Marteo. Marteo is just pressuring from the side, and even Garrosh and Arthas cannot just deal with the 10% damage coming into them.
I mean, as with most Genji-based compositions, GLuck will definitely have an easier job teamfighting post level 10. The problem is that they won't get there at least by the time that... Oh, but an early team fight breaks out.
Hammer actually pushed them away for a split second. Nicely done by Overload.
I'm a bit confused as to why that team fight even happened. Like, it sort of felt like neither team really wanted to fight, but neither team really wanted to back off as well. Oh.
Just testing their power.
Yeah, just
how
a
strong
little
are you before 10?
Before 10.
How strong are you before 10? Pretty strong. And now you're 10 that they can't really fight. All they can do is just try to defend. And Overlord may trap himself as they're engaging here. Slowly just looking for that angle to go toss over. Trying to steal that camp at the same time. This was not the smart decision by GLuck here. They just have to back up. They're giving everything to KSV Black. Silence coming in big time. The Divine Shield also pops that Avatar.
That was so arrogant, cocky, and delightful from KSV Black. This is the Black that we have expected coming into this matchup, right?
They got what they wanted. They got what they wanted, and GLuck still far away from 10. The silence will be a big tool. Blue Beetle has been placing that perfect timing.
I think GLuck has overstayed their welcome. Bad things are going to happen now.
Well, let's start the party here as KSV Black is chasing members down. Milky Way will be the first one. Garrosh blows up. Second one onto Arthas. The chase continues. There's a Greymane sweeping through. Second kill goes to KSV Black again.
Indeed, bad things have happened. Who knew this would happen, but...
Well, we knew the party was about to start as they were going out from way too far away from the walls. Might as well just go kill that Avatar. Oh, Genji... I thought Genji was looking for that kill onto Avatar. Seems like they don't exactly know where he is.
Wow.
Kyocha's still out there. Well, he goes back now, but that took a long time. GLuck still not 10. Barely will hit 10 when the Immortal gets to the keep now. Already going to the keep at 8:30 into the game.
You know, GLuck's decision to just move forward and team fight at, level 11 versus 9, it's so relatable. It's such a bad decision, yet it's so relatable, right? That's what you do in your Hero League games when you know that the opposition sort of has been cocky. They blew their Murden ult, they blew their Uther ults. We know we don't have ults right now, but let's just go in because we're losing. It felt exactly like one of those moments where you're sort of desperate and hopeful and wrong.
Yeah. All the descriptions you just mentioned seems to be correct, and Black really pressuring in now into the wall and trying to target on the siege mode, but is tossed over the wall by Milky Way. All the great stuns are coming in. The wave of damage is here. GLuck just forced away from the keep. This keep is going down 100%. They will eventually want to finish the game, but here comes the Dragon Blade.
There's no Divine Shield.
Getting damage. Greymane going to be gone. They take the keep, but it's going to cost them a little bit here.
That was a good maneuver from a KSV BLACK, I guess. I believe that they were looking for a bit more from that engage, but the primary objective of that moving forward was probably to just, sort of force GLuck off their keep, and Immortal got it. Overall,
6.5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10, yes. Black's lead on this game furthers
ahead, and GLuck actually responded that well. If not, I think if they gave few kills to Black, I think they wanted to finish into the core. Oftentimes they actually go all the way aggressive, even though Immortal was about to go down right after they took the keep. I think they just had enough with Avatar to save themselves from the core damage to end the game, but GLuck defended that really well.
The problem is, though, GLuck doesn't really have a lot of ways to get back into this game, I feel. Avatar compositions generally, start peaking at around this point in the game. Whereas GLuck, Sergeant Hammer compositions on battlefields usually revolve around securing those early immortals through, use of what she brings to the game, right? Her immense range, the ability to position right in the center of the battlefield and really reap up a lot of good things there. Unfortunately, none of that has gone to plan, and the early fort exchange didn't work in their favor either. So what do GLuck do now, especially because they took Napalm instead of, Big Fat Missile? I don't think they have enough for what it takes for Genji to blow up and get those resets and absolutely pop off. So what are GLuck's win conditions really? Can they really do anything at this point in the game?
Well, it just seems like they want to come and defend and try to take the kill as soon as they hit 13 at the same talent. Still a level difference here, but there's a taunt, but still surviving, and Rich is good to go. He can survive himself. Doesn't even need the Divine Shield on himself. At least I think they were trying to get that out of their hand. Now here's the storm, and everything's falling apart. There's the blade, but trying to do some damage. It is stunned, and it seems like he will go down. And double Martel is everywhere here.
The fact that Murden fell early on in the teamfight didn't really mean anything. As you can see, the general power of these compositions when it comes to teamfights is so huge. Kyocha going for the absolute BM right here. Someone pinged Avatar.
Oh man. That's next level Avatar here, as you're watching one of the best Avatar in the world, guys.
What do you think of his skin choice? Because I don't like that skin.
I do like the Pajamathur a lot.
I am fond of the Pajamathur as well.
I think it's one of the best skins in the game also. And well, I don't dislike any skins except for the weird gross looking murky one, the newer one.
I mean, why would you want another murky skin when you have the marine murky? Like, when you have the bubble murky? Like, I don't care what they're called.
When I don't even play murky, so so that's the best thing. But here we go, full shielded Immortal, and also Avatar already onto the other side. They're picking good taunt, but no follow-up damage from anywhere. I think they needed some damage. Milky Way will be going down right after that taunt, and because Dragon Blade is still not available, that's the big thing they need right now, but it seems like that's not going to happen for a long time.
That was an unfortunate breakdown in communication, I feel, because throwing in Muradin into your team was good, but only good when you have the stuck-off silence to follow up on it, and unfortunately, it was already at the feet of Muradin before he was thrown into the keep. So what was done as a desperation move from Garrosh didn't really work out, and this surely will be game for KSV Black.
Oh, that's another kill, and the end of the game number 3, and they will finish with a 3-0 victory here as they need to start climbing up as they were at the bottom tied at 1-0 win, 1 loss with a score of -3 actually, but we'll bounce up with 3-0, which is somewhere in the middle. We'll have to have a few weeks until we actually see who's going to be on top, who's going to be at the bottom, but GLuck, I won't be too disappointed about how they played tonight. Of course, there were lots of mistakes and lots of things to work out, but against KSV Black, I think they did great tonight.
I mean, game 1, sort of underwhelming. They didn't do too many things wrong, but didn't do anything right, so that was maybe a 3.5 out of 10. Then game 2, 10 out of 10, even though they lost. Showed a lot of, great things against KSV Black, were decisive, were oftentimes proactive. I like that a lot. Game 3, nothing really went right, because they really did have a good plan, or at least a plan going into this match, but unfortunately from the moment that they started trading forts, it was already going pretty downhill, right?
I think I think they need to really find what they're good at. Like, some teams are better at rotating the macro, the big picture play. Some teams are really good at, like Tempest, they're really good at team fighting more than the macro. Like, if you compare all 5, who excels at rotations, the macro play. Of course, team fight's also good, but Tempest is who's known for the team fight only. I think GLuck really, if they press on their rotational work a lot more, by having really putting high priority on Dehaka sometimes, because it's game number 2, Dehaka coming into team fight, and they actually had so much better coordination with those kind of team. Team comp, instead of all the way let's go in and fight like Arthas. I think Arthas needs a lot of work from the Saron. Maybe just change into another hero, try to change his playstyle with the entire team. But other than that, I think they're going towards the right way of HGC. I think they're learning a lot. They're getting their experience. This was only their second match into HGC. They have a lot more to come.
Yeah, and I think your point about, GLuck not really knowing what they're really good at sort of stems from the fact that Relic is such an intelligent drafter. He always has his fingers on the pulse of the latest global trends, of the meta, of all the viable strategies for each map. And sometimes too much information can be the wrong thing for your team, because in theory, like, against that comp, this would sort of work, so
Yes.
let's try that. But the thing is that, your players, unless they're on the level of a really world-class team like KSV Black or Ballistics, then usually your players are not going to be able to utilize half of the strategies that are out there that that you want to use, but probably shouldn't. And, the Game 3 draft was pretty wishy-washy as well, because it started off with a Genji, but ended with Sergeant Hammer, which doesn't really make that much sense. Genji was, operating a bit alone in most of those fights, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because not all compositions have to be super single-minded. But I think in this particular game, it would have been much better if the composition could have been more singular.
Yeah, that's right. They had not much to pair up with. Genji, of course, did work great in game 2, but not much at all in game 3. There's a result, as you guys all know from watching. KSV Black will bounce up a little bit after defeating GLuck here just right now with a 3-0 victory, but we've got another great match coming up, though, so don't go anywhere. And also, we're gonna have an interview. I wonder if you had to pick the MVP. Of course, I can't really pick one from KSP tonight, as they were pretty doing what they were usually doing. They weren't really making crazy flashy plays. Even Rich, I thought we were going to see an extra spiciness from Rich's Zeratul tonight, but it wasn't as spicy at all.
Yeah.
So it was pretty bland. So who would you like to pick as an MVP?
When it comes to, generally how well the respective members played, like, I'm sort of leaning towards TTS's maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they'll give it to Rich because, he's the star and he did pick Zeratul. Like, he did pick Malthael. We like to hype those things up. But let's see what happens,
We
right?
like to hype those things up. I'm not
Resident
hyped
sleeper
with
voice.
energy.
No, I mean, like, I always expect great things from Rich, as you can tell from what I
Mhm.
speak of him. So when he delivers, like, well, but not particularly well, then I'm not as excited as I would get when he does really well. And something to talk about Zeratul, like, I really like the reworked version of the Zeratul. I think it's
I
a
do too.
blast to play.
Mhm.
But when it comes to, watching Zeratul in pro play, I sort of miss Void Prison a lot.
I do a lot. I also do because it was one of the biggest counters to Sanctification.
Yes.
And it seems like it doesn't exist anymore. It does, but because if Zeratul's picked basically right now, Zeratul's picked as more of an assassin. Of course he was before, but he wasn't until like very late game. Now he is an assassin from the beginning of the game, but that's not really. You can't pick Void Prison. You really have to choose that. But if you're picking Void Prison, there is the meaning of picking Zeratul kind of fades away in that way. So it's really hard to judge. But here's the highlight from match number 1. We're just gonna go through.
It's the highlights, but it's like half of it are Gluck's
This is
highlights.
that was the highlight for GLuck, but that was it. And the rest of the highlight for KSV BLACK.
Oh, I don't agree with that clip because the highlight of that clip was when at the very start of the team fight, TTSSD suddenly just isolated their back line. That was the highlight moment. But anyway, nice to see some clips. Always a fan of clips. I'm going to get fired for this, aren't I?
Well, this one's going to be clipped. For sure. And I told you guys to not clip the Dragon Strike, and it was right up there at the moment right after I said it. But here comes,
I was
it
right.
is Rich from KSV BLACK, and O-Prime's going to interview, and I'll just translate it for you guys.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네, 오늘 승리
Hello.
진심으로 축하드립니다.
Hello. Of course, congrats
감사합니다.
with your 3-0 victory tonight.
좀 편안한 경기를 하려고 왔을 것 같아요.
Seems like you guys had the comfortable mindset going into tonight's match.
게임하면서 좀 어려운 부분이 있었다.
Was there anything troubling you guys
정확하게 어떤 부분이 좀 힘들었나요?
in tonight's matches?
레벨 차이를 벌려도 한타가 좀 쉽지 않았기 때문에
Even with the level differences, level lead that we had, the team fight was actually not as easy as we thought.
전체적인 수준이 올라갔다. 이런 평가가 많은데 그거에도 동의하시는 건가요?
So do you also agree that the HGC Korea, the average level of all teams actually went up?
네.
I think that's actually true. I think lots of teams are actually playing so much better now.
그렇고 많은 분들이 리치 선수 3으로는 언제쯤 나오나 뭐 이런
And a lot of people are wondering, when are you going to play your Samro?
결제가 떨어지면은 쓸 수 있는데 결제가 안 떨어져요.
Well, we need the Oh, I need the agreement from our coach Noblesse for the draft, but it's never gonna happen for soon.
주시는 팬분들이 계신데 한마디 부탁드릴게요.
And of course, there are lots of fans watching your flashy plays. Rich, you want to give anything back to them tonight?
봐주셔서 감사합니다. 더 나은 경기력으로 보답하겠습니다.
And I'll just try to pay back to you guys with some great plays and games coming up next. But still, just tossing his stance seems like he's not really happy though after that big loss on Friday. I think that's the one that they were really shocked after. I was even trying to say hi and they just passed by. They never do that usually, but they were really shocked and almost depressed after that loss.
I mean, it's understandable. I don't think Tempest ever won against MVP Black. I can say that because they were MVP Black last year.
Yes.
So I don't think Tempest won against MVP Black even once last year, right?
And also with a perfect score. I don't think that ever happened.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and it must have brought back memories of them losing so badly in 2016 when Tempest first came onto the scene. Remember the Super League finals that went 0-4 for KSV?
That
was
is right before the summer.
Shocking, right?
So the summer finals, that was an incredible one. Everyone was expecting a very close, tight series, and it was a 0-4 where Tempest just excelled so hard.
Right, and the thing was that MVP Black at the time weren't expecting the loss at all. It was a complete surprise to them, and right after, that was the beginning of the end for that iteration of MVP Black. Everything sort of went very, very badly, and they did make it to the finals of several more tournaments, but they ultimately ended up losing all of them, so bad memories had to come
Bad
out
memories, but that's going to be it for KSV Black versus GLuck, and KSV Black took that series with a 3-0, but we are going to have 2 more teams, the second best of 5 coming up very soon. It's going to be Feliz versus Ballistics, so guys, don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.